because Ferguson had threatened to come into their country and hang their leaders and to destroy their farms with fire and sword.
They were men and families that really settled the backcountry of what was, at that time, the frontier of the colonies. With the advance of the British and the threats made by Patrick Ferguson, it was not something they were going to sit around and wait to have happen.
By those early patriots, they came out of the mountains, ended up at Kings Mountain, and faced possible death in their effort to get rid of the enemy. It resulted in a victory for the Patriot side over Major Patrick Ferguson.
It was really the first victory in the Southern campaign that really spirited up the troops and the people of the backcountry to take up arms against the king.
Thomas Jefferson himself said that this was the turning point in the final outcome a year later. If it had not been for the victory at Kings Mountain, we very well could be speaking the King's English now instead of good old American. And the trail that was used is a significant part of that whole story. So we need to preserve it and to make sure that future generations know what happened there 200 and odd years ago.
The landowner is the center point of the development of the Greenway system. Without their easements, it's not possible.
Legislation does not authorize the federal government to come in and take land.
People who use the Greenway take great pride in protecting the landowner's property because of the gift of their donation. They really recognize and appreciate that landowner's involvement and their generosity.
We're up to 87 miles of certified trail. That's just a very small section. Our goal is to eventually have the 330 miles that these men marched on the ground that people can walk all the way from Abingdon, Virginia, and Wilkesboro all the way down to Kings Mountain National Military Park.
My family signed the easement because we believe in preserving our history and also our environment. And I think this is the right thing to do. It gets people walking, appreciating the nature, and it can bring people to Elkin. I think that ecotourism is going to be our saving grace in this town for our own good and for our future generations, but also to bring people into the area for economic purposes.
When the trail was established, it was basically established as a corridor of any property that's within a half a mile either side of what we know is the actual historic trail bed.
Well, I would encourage property owners to take a close look at this because of its importance from a standpoint of preserving history as well as scenic preservation.
Part of the requirements of becoming a certified section of the Over Mountain Victory National Historic Trail is that the owner agrees that that portion of the trail that can be utilized to help tell the story will be undeveloped.
We didn't really have any doubts about signing. Definitely wanted to have Elkin enjoy what we enjoy here by the river. It's just a place of peace where people can go. Just hearing the laughter and the kids walking by, and it's just happiness. It's so rewarding to see people really enjoy the trails. The benefits outweigh the negatives.
By having Greenway, that's also along the Over Mountain Victory Trail, it's an excellent opportunity to get outside and actually literally walk a piece of history. By being able to connect your history, then you're able to learn the freedoms that were earned and are still being earned today. And by instilling that sense to our future generations, they will know how important it is to preserve freedom. And by having this set aside for future generations, we have invested in something that's going to be there, very solid for the future.
I think the greatest benefit for an individual is really the legacy that leaves. The opportunity to provide for the future generations. But you know, sometimes it's just not the right thing for a particular landowner, and that's okay. That's why the corridor is a mile wide. It allows opportunities for people to engage or not engage. The bottom line is that we want everybody that's involved in this to come to this of their own will and knowing that this is their thing. To keep this story alive, the story of the Over Mountain men.
This is part of a master planning effort that's underway right now. The National Park Service has invested $25,000 and is being carried out by Destination by Design in Boone. And they have done 2 previous such master plans, one from Lenore to Morganton and one from Morganton to Lake James State Park. And this is the 3rd of such plans, and it will be completed in end of September next year, end of the fiscal year for government services. And right now they've completed the video, and they've had interviews with landowners. They've done a site analysis up and down the river, studied the various tracts of land and possible routes. And the good news is they've got a half a mile on either side of the historic route, essentially the Yadkin River, to use to explore workarounds and various ways trail/greenway could go, all the way to W. Carscott Dam, ultimately, hopefully.
The thing that I came away with from the meeting in Nashville is that we are a part right now of something very big, because eventually, as the video alluded to, their concept is to have a linear park that is the entire length of this historic event. And this thing, once it reaches a certain status, we will become eligible and qualified to receive funding from the National Park Service. So gentlemen, this is huge. And right now we have already certified over Mountain Victory Trail by the National Historic Society, Mulberry Field section, Fish Dam Creek section, Moravian Creek section, which is going to the college, Smootton Memorial, and River's Edge Park. So as you can see, a large amount of the existing greenway is already in the Over Mountain Victory Trail program. And we are looking forward to the day that we can apply for money, federal funds, to help increase the growth of the greenway through Wilkes County and become an integral part of that parks system. What we would like to do is, as you know, the council continues to work hard to expand the greenway, and over the past years, the 2 towns in the county have provided us with funding in the amount of about $110,000 to $120,000. And during that time frame, we have leveraged that amount to help offset our operating expense through grants, private fundraisers, and Friends of the Greenway to have been able to construct the 7.5 miles to the tune of about $4 million of greenway on the ground. And so in the very near future, you're going to see a request from us for continued funding, a little tad more than in the past, but we think you will agree that that return on your investment would make any funding request an easy sale to your constituents. And we would certainly appreciate your support. And if you have any questions, or RG, any other comments, we'll be glad to entertain the questions. If not, we certainly appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you guys out on the greenway, okay?
Anyone have questions for RG or Charles? I have one question.
Yes, sir.
What percentage of the 330 miles has to be complete before it qualifies the project for grant money?
That's a good question. That light bulb just went off this week because I believe it was
Lake James.
Lake James.
Nebo area.
And I'm really ignorant about what I'm about to say, but there's a bond referendum coming up in the state. And there's all kinds of things this is going to fund. And if I heard him right, because there was a lot of figures flying around, that project was earmarked to receive over $3 million in funding to complete that section or that project. And so, trust me, I'm going to be sniffing around to understand more about this upcoming bond referendum. I heard a lot of encouragement to support it in the upcoming vote, but I don't know how that fits in where we are, or if it's too premature for our stage of development. I hope that answers your question.
Well, did I hear you say that at a certain completion of the total mileage of 330 miles, that it would qualify for federal grant money?
That's the, yes, from what I understand. Again, I'm just getting my feet wet on this issue.
And there's some large grants out there that communities are already looking at strongly, including us, referred to as Tiger grants.
Yeah, right.
And the Tiger grants, for instance, in Lenore Morgan's, that particular section there, Merlin Perry and the folks with Caldwell Pathways are very interested in hooking up and going for some of those monies. But the big thing, the bottom line, is by having the Over Mountain Victory Trail in partnership with the Over Mountain Victory Trail, at grant writing time, we have a much stronger ally than just going at it alone. Right. Okay. Yeah.
And we also have some brochures. Marshall, you will pass these out. These are, you know, I grew up in Wilkes County, North Carolina, my whole life, and I never even understood what's going on, this part of history. And I encourage you all, it's an amazing, amazing story. And I encourage you to spend a little time reading this, and you're really going to enjoy seeing what happens with the Greenway and our interfacing with this Over Mountain Victory Trail expansion.
Okay, Councilman Johnson, you got a question?
No, I just want to make a comment. Just wanted to commend Charlie White here for the great work he's done over the years. I've served with him on this board for, I don't know how long now, over 10 years. And I assure you, he has served tirelessly, no pay, and has made good use of dollars. I think the average cost of constructing a greenway in other cities, we've heard, is over $1 million a mile.
Yes.
And we've constructed, or our group has constructed seven and a half, 4 million.
4 million around there. But of course, we did not include the direct contribution in kind, both from the counties and the town. That's just the funds that we scratched together over the years.
And certainly the town of Wilkesboro has been a huge aid
Yes.
in the construction. Most recently, of course, Braden Creek. We appreciate that.
And a little tidbit about the expansion to Wilkes Community College. We met with college officials 2 weeks ago now, I think, and everybody's on board. We finalized the route, and so as soon as all of them have been signed. Last year we signed up total along the Greenway 7 easements. We have all the easements from the bridge construction down to the college. We'll finalize the colleges now that we know, but that's just a formality.
So and now the Greenway Group Council is in a position where we have more easements than we have dollars.
Absolutely. We got the next segment in targeted surveys being finalized, easements being finalized, and that would be the connector between Smoot Memorial Park and Mulberry Fields, which of course is the original, the first section, down the Reddies to the confluence of the end.
And the Greenway Board is now looking at doing a fundraising campaign.
Yes.
Good. It's been some time since we've done one.
We really, really appreciate y'all's support.
Good.
It's a great thing for the community.
Andy.
I'd like to make a comment.
Sir.
I've worked with RG for several years now with Over Mountain Victory Trail Group, me doing blacksmith work, and it's been expanded now to Surrey, Wilkes, and Caldwell County school children, right?
Yes.
And all of those 4th graders and 8th graders, I think it was, I don't know if the 8th graders are still involved in it or not, but every one of them are exposed to this. And what, 3 years ago, Coca-Cola gave you a grant. Is any of those still in the works from these corporate sponsors and stuff?
We've been getting them consecutively year after year. So this year, we're outreach of school students and teachers up and down the trail was 10,700. Those were our numbers for students and teachers.
10,000 students.
10,000, over 10,000 students.
They was a whole lot.
Yes.
And also, this past weekend, we applied for a grant to improve the access to the Greenway through Wilkesboro's Willow Lane. You may, when you're walking, see where we constructed a handicap parking space for the fishing pier. What the a proposal to us was to improve a cul-de-sac that's platted but not developed at the end of Willow Lane, improve it so that the school buses carrying the children could come there, drop the kids off on the actual Over Mountain Victory Trail, and have that program that you guys put on there. And also move up to the courthouse in that area. But the main thing was to keep all the kids away from the traffic.
Oh, that's great.
Keep them
That's
in.
great.
And so we just found out about that today. So
Yes.
we'll get the ball moving and do those improvements.
Good.
So we got a lot of exciting things going on.
Well, I admire you both and for the programs that you're into. It really has helped. The only thing I would like to see is if you possibly could in the future do everything you can for the handicapped people, and especially the children that can experience those experiences.
I'll tell you one thing, and if you let me, I'll talk to Matt about this.
Well, trust me, your time will be limited.
Okay. An idea that I thought about but didn't know how to implement, another city has, and several times during the year they take golf carts and they advertise it, and for the people, they have a name for it. It's like We'll Walk With Us or something like that. It's real catchy. If you can't walk the Greenway, come down, we'll put you in a golf cart, we'll take you around, we'll show you what we're doing to get those great people involved in the Greenway, let them find out what it's all about, all the history involved. So we'll put that in the works, and you'll probably see something come out of that.
Okay, Charlie.
Thank you, gentlemen.
RG, thank you. Thank you. So I will ask the council to once again direct their attention to our agenda. The next